Hi everybody, it's Alexa here from Once Upon a Chapter, and I'm here today to show you my October TBR pile. So I decided that I would go with trying to finish up a lot of series reads this month. I don't know why, I guess I'm just not really into spooky books and, horror and things like that, so I'm not really going with a Halloween theme or scary theme. I'm just going with a, hey, I really want to catch up on some things before the year ends, and although it may not sound like the year is ending since it's only October, but before you know it, it'll be Halloween, and before you know it, it'll be Thanksgiving, and before you know it, it'll be Christmas. And I would really like to have said that I finished off some series, or at least got caught up with some series before the year ends. First up is a book that's not really part of a series finishing. It's a series starting. It's The Bourbon Kings. The only reason I have this in the pile is because I have been reading this, and I do have a little over 100 pages left to go in this one. So my plan is to finish The Bourbon Kings first, so that I can dive into the rest of the books in the pile, which are series-related books. Next up is Gunmetal Magic. This is kind of part of the Kate Daniels series in a way. It's a little bit of a step aside because it's not about Kate Daniels. It's about her friend. So this is like I think it's 4.5 or 5.5. It's one of the in-between books, and I do want to read it before I continue on, just in case there's any pieces of this storyline that help me better understand what's going on with these secondary characters when I jump back into the Kate Daniels series. And I really love the Kate Daniels series. It has, become kind of a new favorite of mine, and so I really want to read this so that I can dive back into Kate's story. I know, just reading somebody else's story so I can get back to Kate and Kieran. I know, terrible. Next up is Through the Evernight. This is book 2. Oh gosh, I'm not even remembering what the first book was called. Under the Never Sky. There we go. Had to read the back. So, Stephanie and I read Under the Never Sky a month and a half ago, and Stephanie really liked it, and I was kind of on the fence about it. I wasn't in love with it, but I didn't hate it. I felt like the first part of the book was very slow. There wasn't a lot of great character development. There wasn't a lot really going on in the first part of the book. I felt like towards the middle and end part of the book, some things started to happen that were a little bit more interesting to me, and it felt like the characters finally started to develop feelings and storylines, and that they just became this greater piece. I feel like in the beginning of the story, Arya and Perry are kind of bland. They don't really seem to have too much character development going on. They don't really seem to have too much emotion, and it's not until later on in the book that I felt that they finally grew up a little bit and they had a little bit more connection with me, because they started to actually have real emotions and act like real human beings instead of this two-dimensional kind of character cutout. So I do want to continue on because the second half of the first book was much better than the first half of Under the Never Sky. So I want to read Through the Evernight so that I can dive back into this story and find out what happens next. And keeping with the theme of trying to finish off series, I do own Into the Still Blue, which is the third and final book in this series. So I kind of like it that I waited to read this series, because now I can just kind of binge read all 3 books within a 2-3 month period and say that I read the series and be able to be done with it all within 1 year. So I really hope that the second book kind of continues on the pacing that the first book left off on, because that was a very good pacing and very good character development. So if everything kind of continues smoothly on through the second book, I will jump into the Still Blue. Hopefully this will be just as great, and we'll move story along, and everybody will keep developing as a character, and that the plot will keep moving forward, because I feel like, it has somewhere it can go, and I want to see where it's going to go. So I do want to finish off this series. Another series that I want to finish off, I have only the last book left. I felt like I was never going to get to the last book in this series, because I've been slowly making my way through this series for a little over a year now. So this is Last Sacrifice. It is the 6th and final book in the Vampire Academy series. I'm really, really interested in knowing what happens with Rose and Dimitri at this point, and I know that Adrian is in a spin-off with Sydney, and I also want to get into the Bloodline series, but I'm not going to dive into the Bloodlines unless I know how Rose's story ends. And the 4th and 5th book were some of my favorites. The 4th book was, I think, my favorite out of the series so far, but I haven't read this book yet, and this is actually a pretty hefty book here. Yeah, it's almost 600 pages, so I think that's kind of why I put this off for the last couple months, even though I read books 4 and 5 pretty close together. I put off reading this because I wasn't ready for the story to be over yet. I'm still pretty caught up in Rose and Dimitri now that I accept them and love them as a couple together. And I felt the fourth book really helped their relationship develop. And so now I want to see where their relationship ends. In this one, I'm sure, of course, it'll end in a happy ending, but I need to know. So yeah, I wouldn't say that Vampire Academy is one of my favorite series, but I definitely feel like it has its strong moments and its weak moments. It's a little weird reading about a vampire story so many years after vampires have kind of gone out of style a little bit in YA literature. But I feel like it kind of brings back old times, and vampires are a little bit different in this book, so I feel it all works out in the end. So very excited to see how Rose's story ends. And then the last book that I have that I would really like to read is the second book in the Shadow and Bone series, or it's called the Grisha series or the Geisha series, or I think it's the Grisha or the Geisha. It's the Grisha, it says on the back. That's what happens when you read the back of the book. Anyway, so this is the second book. I did really like the first book in this series. I might have to kind of reread parts of the ending of it so I refresh myself on exactly how it ended, because I kind of vaguely remember what happened in the end, but I might need to refresh myself. So I want to do that and then dive into this. A big motivator to read this has been the fact that Six of Crows just came out, and a lot of people are saying that it's set, I think, in the same world as the Grisha series, this one. And so I feel it would kind of do myself a disservice if I didn't finish off this series before diving into kind of a closely related series, I think. I just don't want to miss anything. Like, I don't want there to be something that I read in Six of Crows that I don't understand because it was better explained in this series. So, and like I said, I did like Shadow and Bone, and so I want to jump into this one. I do own the third book, Ruin and Rising. I just didn't put it on the pile because I felt like so many books that I wanted to read this month were 500 or so pages. I have some very hefty books already on my pile, and just didn't think I'd have time to make it to the second and the third book in this series. But if I pick up this one and I'm loving it and I need to know what happens, if it has a cliffhanger ending, I will be picking up Ruin and Rising because I will need to know what happens. So yes, so catching up on series, finishing some series, catching up on the Kate Daniels series, and then just finishing the Bourbon Kings because it's what I'm currently reading. So I know this is a pretty ambitious pile for me once again, especially because it's already the 5th of October and I haven't read that much just because I've been working all weekend long. I've been on a 10-day working thing again, so we'll see how much of this I end up finishing. But, you know, a girl can hope. Plus, I am taking off a couple days off of work in order to go to a wedding and do some other things, so we'll see between all of that how far I get. Plus, I'm also working Halloween weekend, so I don't know. Work, work, work. Not enough time to read all these books I want to read. It's definitely a problem in my life. Anyway, if you've read any of these fabulous books, or you have any comments on series I should read, or series that you think I should hurry up and finish or catch up on, please let me know. And that's everything for today, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.